I am back. I feel really cute today. It's not often you can feel cute when you have eczema, so today we are doing a book review / what I've read over the past year, which is not a lot, especially after I started university, but it's still gonna be a solid collection of books, and because people have been asking for like a book recommendation video or just more videos talking about books, because I love reading books. So first up is If Not Winter by Sappho and Carson, and I read this book digitally. My boyfriend sent it to me. He's kind of like my librarian in a way. What is there to say to convince you to read this book? I mean, it's Sappho. Hello? Need I say more? Sappho is my muse, my inspiration, my favorite poet, and I'm really mad at the world for burning like most of her books. Like, I have so much to say, but just the fact that Ovid's Metamorphoses has been preserved over millennia and it is complete, and then Sappho only has fragments for us to chew on, for us to feed ourselves and keep ourselves satiated. Like, hello? Let me just say this. If you like Sappho, if you like poetry, if you like women, then read this book. Like, I just wanted to read this book because I've been wanting to read it for a long time, and yeah, because like I said, crumbs, that's all we have, so I needed to read it. There's not much else to say about that, but if you want to hear me reading Sappho poetry to you, I have a Sappho poetry ASMR video that I did back in April, but that was before I had my Blue Yeti. So, but yeah, I think you will still enjoy it. The second book after that is one of the ones that I have physically here, is Interview with the Vampire. This book is also a classic, especially if you are an avid vampire fiction reader. I'm actually not a big vampire fan, but I will say I do enjoy it a lot because I like gothic fiction. And so for this book, it actually was much deeper than I thought it would be, which I really enjoyed, because it's not just like the sensuous, erotic type of novel, which I will admit is a big part of the reason why I picked it up, because eroticism. Yeah, I read this back in February, so I don't really remember like the big thoughts I had on it, but I do remember that it is very existentialist and just about morality. So yeah, it's a nice combo of like intellectual food for thought and sexy vampires. Right now I am actually writing a research paper in my English class that has to do, it's not about vampire fiction, but I do analyze vampire fiction in order to prove my point that society hates women. and my professor approved of my topic, and she said it was very intriguing. So I'm really excited because it's basically just gonna be a paper where I'm throwing hands at society because of misogynism. So there. But I think if you like vampire fiction, you've always wanted to read this, which is a classic, maybe you've seen the movie, which I have not yet, then you should read it, because if you do enjoy it, then you would have the satisfaction of reading all these that Anne Rice has written, which is so admirable. Like, she has this whole resume of works that are all related to like fantasy, which is so cool. Okay, next up is Making Sex, Body and Gender from the Greeks to Freud. Okay, so I read this book on a PDF, and I think I also asked my boyfriend to send this to me, and I thought it would be a very, very interesting read, which I guess it was, because I still did learn some cool things in it. But let me just read my Goodreads review to you, okay? By the way, if you want to follow me on Goodreads, it is in the description box, so you can stalk me on there and see what I'm reading. By the way, did I mention that my boyfriend and I met on Goodreads? We met on an online book review site. How cool is that? Okay, so here is my review. I will put it on the screen as well. I feel like I just wasted my time reading a guy from the 90s explain to me things that were believed about sex, procreation, women's bodies, and the clitoris that turned out to be way wrong for 200 pages. And of course, there were good parts, like the rare physician convincing others of actually accurate things, but of course back then nobody believed them. And I learned interesting things too. But overall, it wasn't what I expected to get out of the book. I guess that's my fault though, because the title literally suggests that the content consists of this kind of history, but I really thought it would be more interesting. Also, there were some triggering accounts of what women had to endure throughout history, i.e. sexual abuse, rape, gaslighting, etc. And there were also some triggering things that these physicians did to animals in the name of discovery. So definitely keep that in mind if you are considering reading this book. Yeah, it was definitely more of a history book that detailed these types of things, but the reason why I thought it would be interesting is, first of all, the cover looks really cool, and also I'm a sex theory girl. I like to read sex theory books. This camera right now is propped up on a small pile of books, and one of them is Le Deuxième Sexe by Simone de Beauvoir. So there you go. They just believed really stupid things, okay? Like, for example, probably the most infamous thing is that they thought a woman had to orgasm in order to become pregnant, which we know would mean that the world's population would be much, much smaller. Okay, let's move on to the next book, which is Metamorphoses. Not much is needed to say about that either, because, hello, Ovid, Metamorphoses. I read that on my phone, on the iBooks app, and I mean, I'm not gonna deny that that book has not influenced much of modern day pop culture, and also just throughout history, like when you look at the Renaissance art and just everything. It's influenced so much of art that maybe sometimes we don't even realize it, because like the impact Greek mythology has on today's society is just so vast. I don't even know where to begin. And I think that's really cool because, like, Ovid himself, when he sought out to write this long poem, he said that he would be well known for millennia, and that poets would take inspiration from him, and other artists could only try to ascend to his level. Like, wow, that's some big dick energy right there, Ovid. No, but I think that's actually so cool. Like, he said he would be well known to this day, and he is. Like, he's influenced so much. And I think that's really cool. I mean, I've always been a lover of Greek mythology. I was a big Percy Jackson fan, and yeah, I've just always been fascinated by it. And much of my writing and my art is greatly influenced by Greek mythology. So the stories in there, I really like Orpheus and Eurydice, maybe a few other passages, but I think their reunion in the underworld is just one of the most bittersweet moments. I will say it was very, very difficult for me to read Metamorphoses. And if you have read it or you just know about what reading Greek mythology is like, then you know what I mean, because there's just a lot of sexual assault and just triggering things, and you can definitely see the misogynism in ancient Greece, which is very unfortunate, because in Metamorphoses and Greek mythology in general, women are seen as temporary and just objects to be conquered, and you move on from one to the next really quickly. Like, they're not even seen as human beings. So it was kind of hard to read the book, I'll be honest. But it wasn't like I didn't know about that going into it. I just really wanted to read this classic book of Greek mythology. And that serves as a really nice transition into my last book, which is Circe by Madeline Miller, because it is a retelling of one of the myths in ancient Greek mythology, which is Circe. And I would honestly love to see a lot more retellings of myths by women, because, like, when you think about it, you can obviously tell that a lot of these Greek myths are told from the point of view of men, which is why they are the way they are, and why the women, the female characters in Greek mythology, are the way they are. Like, when you think about it, one thing I never really understood until I thought about how it's been told by men this whole time, is when Hera got mad at Tiresias for saying that women experience more pleasure than men. Like, I was always like, what? Why are you mad about that? Shouldn't you be happy because you get to experience more pleasure? And then I remembered that, lust is like a sin and it's a bad thing for women to be desirous and hedonistic or just like have a sexual appetite. And so that's why. And also because it was written by a man. So there you go. Lavender tea break to soothe my sore throat from being mad at men. So the last book would be my most recommended book for this video. I highly recommend. I'm not even done with it yet and I'm talking about it, so you just know how good it is. And so if you didn't know, Circe is a witch and she was kind of a minor character in Greek mythology. That's why Madeline Miller was able to kind of do a retelling without having to get in too much trouble for changing too much stuff, because Circe was already a minor character to begin with. So yeah, definitely a story about a woman reclaiming her power. Like, you can just see, if more of these myths are told from a woman's perspective, how much more rich they are, how much more just better. Okay, everyone, that was it for this book review / recommendation video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm gonna end it really fast right now because my camera just died because it overheated because it's 10 years old. So if you like this video, leave a comment and maybe you can give me a book recommendation. I would love that. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.